Hello, I'm Robert and welcome to part 2 of my build of Airfix's Focke-Wulf FW190 A-8. Been a great kit so far. I've put together the cockpit, detailed that up with some scratch built straps, put the two halves of the fuselage together, really just painted and dry brushed some of the internals. This part is really just going to be a case of gluing it all together, getting the basic kit done, see what sort of gaps need filling, whether we need to do much sanding, much filling, and finally getting it ready for paint. Once paint goes on, we can weather it, decals on, and we're pretty much done. It's a small kit, so hopefully it should be quite good. But for this today, all I've got is some sprue cutters, some selection of files, a scalpel, and Tamiya extra thin, and 3 sprues of plastic parts. Let's see how we get on. So far we've managed to put the cockpit together, detail it up a bit, put the two fuselage halves together, drill some holes for some of the external tanks. So next part is going to be part 5, which is going to be starting work on the guns that go on top of the fuselage, and let's see how we get on. As you can see, we've got the little guns on there. Always make sure you test fit, just to be sure. I think that's not going to be fitting too well. We've got quite a large gap, something needs filing down somewhere, probably just at the rear. I'm just putting a clip on there because that just seems to keep wanting to raise up for some reason. So I'm just putting that on there just whilst the glue dries to keep it pressed down. Chances are it's going to push it together too much, and the panel line I'm going to need to re-scribe in. The glue seems to have squished, but if I leave it so that you get a more natural panel line between the two parts, I think it's going to come together, and it's not really sitting evenly, so I'm not quite too sure what's happening there. But I think it's just going to be best. Whole load of Tamiya extra thin, really make sure that bond bites down, and then re-scribe that out once the glue's gone off and it's dried properly. Whilst that's doing, let's move on to the rudder and tailplanes. Surprisingly, there's actually a bit of flash going around the tailplanes and the rudder, just only a little bit, just needs taking off. But it does surprise me. Plus, where the sprue gates were, there's also little notches that are a little bit larger and do need to be taken off as well. So a coarse file for where the sprue gates were, just to get rid of those. Make sure that it goes back to following the contours of the tailplane, follow the curves around. Now once we've done that, it's only a little bit of flash. Not much, but just with a softer sanding sponge, a much lower grit, I'm just going to smooth off just that little bit of flash. Right, well, I was hoping that I might have been able to actually do these so that the wing, the flaps are dropped, or the ailerons at the back. However, there's a little tab there, that's got to go into, and that's really going to prevent that from being able to be posable too much if you were to trim the ailerons off and reset them. Now, of course, what we could always do is take the little tab off, fill the hole in, and then you can obviously set it to how you want it to be. But at the moment I'm thinking that's probably, shall I? I'm 50-50 on that actually at the moment. We could do it and it would make it a little bit more hosable. The real tailplane, that can of course be hosed, that comes on, so we could of course do that. What I have noticed though is you do actually have some quite good effect on the tailplanes. Quite a nice little stretched fabric effect going on those tailplanes. And there are differences in there, just to make sure that they're keyed, that they go the right way round. I don't know if you can make that out. The that little notch is in a different position on each of those. Right. Well, these do sit quite snug. Because of that, I'm going to have a go at taking these off. Yes. Just got that on at a slight angle. And we want to fill those little holes in before we do much else. Got some perfect plastic putty. So I've just managed to get those little tabs filled in there. That's just a case of getting these back on. There we are. So let's just give them a slight drop. Okay, and I think by just adding the dropped ailerons there and putting the rudder slightly off centre, it should sit a little bit more interesting on the ground. So I think that will, should work quite nicely. And then we have 16, 17, 18, 15. Make sure everything's all facing forward. problem is, if you don't file this little bit down, you're going to get a gap where this joins. You don't want a gap on the leading edge. Now let's see if this comes together and fits. Well, that is not looking right. I'm going to push those in. But that one fits fine. This one does not. Now let's just try and pull those into position. So initially I thought that these parts were actually pushed into the wing root like these ones are. The outer guns actually do come out the wing root, whereas these ones actually recess. Now it's not really clear on the instructions, it looks like it goes there, but actually it does go further back, as when you look over to here, when you see there, you can see that goes back, but the actual end of it, the barrel, goes right the way back to the rear of the wheel well, not really to the front as expected. So it's actually about there, not there. And as you can see here, those have come back there, and just back a bit there. That's gone together okay. Now let's get these bits in now. I had to drill those holes out. So that's looking good. And now it all comes together. The four guns actually run it in a line. A very big gap there. That's about 1 millimetre. That's not just going to file. Oh, far too much. Why did I do that? Right, what I'm going to do is to do the front bit first, and then when that's dry, then I'll do the back bit. Don't do it all in one go, because otherwise you push, you're going to get that going on. Let's get the front in first, because that fits nice and square. Get the ring roots in. Yeah, let's do that. We've got some quite large gaps, the ring roots there. Alright, whilst that's doing, let's work on this. Yeah, you're going to have to neaten up that front end a bit, I think. Flaps are all set. And those we're going to put in just for masking, just for when spraying. Wait for that to go off and then file it down. A bit of more of that in there and a few gaps. First of all, before I do anything with that, just want to make sure that all the glue actually goes off, and before I start doing anything, and make sure that's all fine and set before we go on.